Hey peeps, as we head into week 2 of fantasy football, DFS, and specifically, man, my S's are coming out weird when I do these recordings. Specifically DraftKings ReignMakers. Want to take a look at some of the price discrepancies that can come out and how to take advantage of them or just be aware of them. In this particular case, let's take a look at Saquon Barkley, who is right now looking like one of the stud running backs on the season, and in particular, one of the top non-superstar ones. But because of that, or for whatever reason, his prices have really jacked up. My core sold for near $50. I just went and put down here some of the core prices of other running backs. The next cheapest one, so Saquon's $50 currently. The next cheapest one is $28. Then you go down to 19, then you go down to 10, all the way down to like $5 for Edmonds, for example. The multiplier of Saquon being 50, you could buy like 5 Fournettes for the same price, basically. On the same lines, when you go to the the rare, Saquon's at 165. The next one down is Jonathan Taylor at 100. For example, here Kamara is $50. That's over 3 times cheaper than the Saquon. Going over to the elites, Saquon's 1100. Next down is Swift at 800. You could get a Cordell Patterson for 370. I'm going to delve into this a little bit more here in a second also, just to show you on each level. On the legendary, Saquon is not the most expensive. Actually, the Mixon is. There's very few of these cards, though, so there can be price imbalances. But there's a $3,000 drop down to Swift, McCaffrey, Kamara, almost $4,000 to Taylor. Jumping onto the Reignmaker, which there's very few of these. 1 to 3, generally. Saquon there is $12,000, which sort of looks like a relative deal. Mixon and Taylor are extremely expensive. So let's just delve into this a little more. How many core of each card are available? Well, previously I estimated 3,000, I said up to 4, possibly up to 5,000. Not as many as you think on each level, because there are a lot of unsold packs. If you look at Saquon in specific, there were 2,000 owners listed on across the various sets currently for sale. Only 39 of them. That's obviously why the price rises. Very few are listed for sale. But even if you say like each of those owns 2, that puts you right around the 4,000 supply that I estimated. If you sold that Saquon for 50 like I did, just as a rough example of how sort of overpriced this is right now, you could buy this whole lineup for roughly the same price. A Lance, a Fournette, a DJ Moore, a Deontay Johnson, and a Henry. He's actually not in this week's games, but he's in a different slate. But you could substitute many other running backs or wide receivers there. Going on to the rare level, I've estimated that there were like 900, something like that, of these out there, depending on the player. But for example, on Saquon, there's 400 on the various sets that are listed for sale on rare Saquons. Currently, there's 430 listed owners, only 31 for sale. So actually, there's more on a ratio basis available on the rare level. But again, if you take like each one, the average owns 2 of these, that takes you up to 900. So somewhere in that ballpark possibly. And what this tells you here is these are about 4 times rarer than the cores, supply-wise, something like that. Price-wise, the Saquon is um, is only 3.3 times. So on a relative basis, the 165 one is a better deal. If you look at the prices in general, like the lowest, so these are sort of like $5. These are like these are like 5 to 6 times, and they're probably, so they're a little overpriced. The rares are on the low end versus the amount that are out there. And here, if you're looking at Saquon at 165, so here you're looking at Saquon at 50, and then you got Taylor, then you got like Mixon, Swift, McCaffrey, Chubb, $15, $20 to $15. Even down to Henry, Cook, Najee Harris, Fournette, Aaron Jones. There's others. I'm just pointing out some of them. So here you got Saquon for 165. Taylor's the next one down at 100. The next two, the next sort of non-superstar ones, Swift 90, Mixon 90, Williams 70, Chubb 70. And then I highlighted these as being even sort of better deals, even all the way down to Jacobs here at 27 or Edmonds here at 5. Depending on your budget and all that. Basically, the pricing for Saquon is indicating is priced like he will be a Taylor from last year, dominant over everybody the whole year, along those lines. If he is, then the prices aren't that out of whack. But if he isn't, or in a given week type of thing, then could Connor be the same as Saquon even this week? Yes, in my opinion. Could Gibson pop? Could McCaffrey? Now I know he's a superstar card and you only can play one of them. We consider he's $90 cheaper there. So if you had a rare Saquon, let's say, or you were going to buy one, or if you were going to sell yours at 165, you could buy this lineup. Now remember, because right now you can use 1 core and 4 rares in a rare lineup currently. So you could buy the core Saquon for 50, get a Mayfield rare, Thielen rare, Metcalf rare, and Jacobs rare for $150-ish. So you can fill a whole lineup versus the 1 card, and even have a Saquon in the card, in the lineup. Moving on to the elite. Now this is where the focus is going towards, because that's the biggest contest with a $100,000 first prize on the main slate. So here I had estimated there were something like 150 that exist. You can look at the set sizes, but remember, not all of them are out there, not all of them are sold. In this case, there's 106 owners listed on the Saquons, and 16 are for sale. So half as many of these, but not many obviously in this scheme of things. Here the Saquon's 1,100. There's a less difference between him and the next one's down, which sort of happens as you go up in levels. What the reason for that is? Well, to some degree, you could say that these are smarter players and they're not overbuying the Saquon relative to others. It also has to do with just the limited number of supply in general. You have to read into that what you will, but in this case, see, he's only 1.3 times the next one down, which is Swift. Here it's 1.7, here it's 1.8, and here most of them are like 4 or 5. Here most of them are 2 or 3, here most of them are 1 or 2. It also comes down to like a real dollar basis. On this one, you can look, depending on what you think of these guys, but to me, like ones that stand out, like Penny for 200, Harris for 200, because they're $50 below the next one, even Hunt for 270. Going up here, Javonte Williams, 735. He's 400 cheaper than Saquon there, but he's sort of higher on the other tiers, or he can be. Chubb cheaper again, things like that. So with the supply, I had estimated 150. There's 106 owners. That could mean like average person owns 1.5 of them. But the supply of these is like 6 times the supply of rares, 6 times rarer, so to speak. But the prices are 10 times more. So here, like $27, here $270, even though it's 6 times rarer, roughly. Um, and you can even see with the multipliers of the Saquon, this one's 3.3 times, this one's 6.7. But so elites are jacked up relative to rares. Why is that? Because that's the big contest. They're actually more attractive, I think, than legendaries are to some of the people because they want to be able to get into this. So they're trading quite a bit more. But remember, you can use one rare in your elite entry. So comparing this elite Saquon for $1,100, you could have a rare Saquon in there for $165. And just as an example, you could have an elite Trubisky, elite Claypool, elite Curtis Samuel, and elite Hunt for somewhere around the same, buying them. So a whole lineup for the price of one, including that player. Moving on to the legends. Here I had estimated there were 20 to 40 of them. There is a max, I think, of around 40 currently, but I had estimated something like 20 to 40 exist. There's 15 owners on that. On the Saquons, only 5 for sale. The price, $7,000, but here it's actually not the most expensive. Mixon is, again, some of the top non-superstar running backs out there for this week. But remember, they have said, I believe, that they will change the superstars as the season goes along. Now, double check on that, but if that is the case, who do you think they're going to make a superstar but this guy? And in that case, you can only use one of them and his price will come down relative to other top superstar running backs. So if like they decide to remove Najee Harris and put in Saquon, then that changes who the non-superstar running backs are. But currently for this week, which is some of the reason for the pump, is that he's really considered above and beyond this week. But remember, there's a whole season of prices and contests, so overpaying by that much on a relative basis, I mean, it's up to you. But so taking a look at that, the legendary are approximately 5 times rarer than the elites. The prices are about 4 times less. So again, it sort of shows the elites are relatively overpriced, meaning like these are like 200, these are like 1,200 type. I mean, these are like 300, these are like 1,200 type of thing. Here, the Harris or New England stands out, depending on what you think of him, because he's $300 less. These are basically the same list of people, and this one is $300 less than the next one up. Again, here, all of these are $3,000 to $4,000 cheaper than those top two. And then you even have Eckler down here. I bought an Eckler core today for $7. And these are remember the superstar ones are $10 basically minimum in the one packs. Eckler and Harris down here, Connor, Chubb, Williams down here, type of thing. And here the Saquon was 6.4 times his price. So that was actually, this one's a little expensive compared to this one. Now here at the Saquon Legend for $7,000, you could buy the Saquon Elite for $1,100 because currently actually it might be 2 elites. You have to double check this. I think you can use 2 elite in the legendary contest and 3 legendary. So this might actually be less than this. It is. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but you can just double check. You can buy a legendary Mariota, legendary Cooks, legendary Pitts, legendary Najee Harris for that much. And if you're going elites, you could even do more. You could do like a Dalvin Cook instead of that and save money. And then moving on to the ReignMaker, of course, there's only 0 to 3 of these max. Most of them have 1 or 2, I think. You have to double check. On the Saquons, there's 2 owners and 2 for sale. So they're basically both for sale. $12,000 is the cheapest one. This actually looks like a relative deal if you're going into the ReignMaker, but do your own research because it's quite a bit of money. The only Mixon is $75,000. The only Taylor is $110,000. Again, here, Singletary actually on a relative basis for $3,800. If you're looking at that compared to these other running backs, these were the only running backs this list I saw for sale currently. These are roughly 15 times rarer than these, something like that. 10 to 20 times. And the prices, they're only 7 times as much. That's sort of been the case with these ReignMakers, just because there's also such a small sample size on them. Here, the Saquon's only 1.7 times. So buy that for 7 or buy that for 12. I mean, that's a lot of money, but when you're on that level, you want to take a look at things like that. And so the bottom line to me is, yes, am I upset not to have Saquon in my lineup and have to remake my lineups? Yeah, but I had already set my limit price, and $50 for a core card right now that's not in a showdown game, it's pretty high. I mean, the buying's sort of getting out of hand, particularly on this one, but all of them, in my view. Now, if he does turn out to be a Jonathan Taylor and dominates, and then you got to keep in mind that they may make him a superstar later in the year. According to the information I have, they can do that now. Whether they are going to do that or what the exact time frame or rules on that is, or if they're going to do it at all, I don't know for sure. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. Look at the relative prices. Look at the bargains. This is the sort of sweet spot this is the one everybody is trying to get into with good cards, and right now you can use a rare in there. So you can see like the cheaper running backs if you wanted to get in there, and then even here, then you can add one rare for less, like that is an example. But to hit the top, it's going to take a big hit from somebody. But we've seen guys come in above the top guys before, and it can happen in fantasy. All right, that's it basically. So if I owned one, I would consider cashing out if I had good profits on it and reallocating the money, but it's up to you. All right, good luck with this week in fantasy, guys.